If you're still at that point in life where you're looking for answers outside of yourself, I'm here to remind you that there's not anyone on the planet who has it all figured out. Most people, approximately 99% of them, have absolutely no idea what they're even talking about. That being said, it's going to be up to you in order to figure out what you should do with your own life. Trusting your gut is a very valuable tactic that can get you very far in life as long as you're able to surrender to not knowing and trusting. My name is Avery Timpson, and I make videos like this in order to help people better their lives the best I can. I urge you to look around at the life that you have now, and the people that are in it, and the places that you source your advice from. It can be extremely interesting when you realize that the people that you're taking advice from don't actually have what you want. If the people that you're taking your advice from don't have what you want, then they're probably not going to lead you to the life that you truly desire. So in this video, we're really going to pinpoint exactly what you should be following and exactly who to not listen to, and then maybe the people you should be more open-minded about listening to. The simple fact is, everyone is literally guessing their way through life. Nobody knows what's actually going on, and we're all just as confused as the next person. Everybody starts out as an infant and then goes through their life being taught random various things by other people who also don't know what they were doing, and they put it together best they can. And that's what each individual person does. So taking too much advice from one source can oftentimes lead to a lack of you following your own passion. On the other hand, sourcing information from too many people can also lead you to getting pretty confused. And sourcing information from the wrong sources is always going to be a bad answer. Think about the people in your life that you currently look up to. Like maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your boss or a mentor or a teacher, something like that. And think about why you look up to them. And you'll find that it's most likely a specific or a few specific attributes that you admire about them. But when it comes down to it, you don't actually want to be exactly like them. You might analyze them and see that they do have a few flaws that you would like to not have. So taking all of their advice isn't always going to be that beneficial for you. I'm not saying don't listen to people that you look up to. I'm just saying be very careful with what you actually do in your life. Because if you go down the wrong path, it can be detrimental to finding yourself. Most people nowadays that are giving advice aren't actually admirable individuals. If you do look on the internet, you can find plenty of admirable individuals who are willing to give advice. But if you look in your own life, in the real life, your day to day, you might find a serious lack of people who are genuinely living the life that you want to live. And I think that that's where people go wrong because they allow the people in their day-to-day life to have such a large effect on what they do with theirs, but you don't even want to live the life that they're coercing you to live. So it just leads to unhappiness, and it's hard to find peace when you're trying to be someone that you don't really want to be. So let me explain something. There's really two main categories of advice. There's people who will come to you and tell you, hey, do what I did. And then there's the other people who will tell you, hey, don't do what I did, right? So if you're talking to someone who's saying, hey, do what I did, and they don't have what you want, don't be disrespectful and don't, completely tune them out. But take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Because if you're sitting there listening to people who are saying, yo, you should do this, and they don't have the life that you want, then it just doesn't really make sense to follow that, does it? People who are telling you, hey, do what I did, think about what they have in their life. Think about their personality traits. Think about the physical things that they've attained or the systems that they've set up in their life, are they really disciplined? Do the people around them love them? Are these attributes that they possess ones that you want to be true in your life? And if they're not, then you gotta take what they're saying with a grain of salt, because despite how cool or attractive they may seem, if you don't want those to be true for you, then listening to their advice may very well lead you down the wrong path. So be careful with those individuals. Then, obviously, on the other hand, of the do what I did type, you have the people who do actually have these qualities and features about their life that you would want to possess in your own. And I would definitely encourage you to listen to what they say, but at the same time, you need to trust your gut with these people, because especially if you're looking at them over the internet and don't have access to them in real life yet, then you're gonna want to be cautious because of the fact that money is always a factor. Are these people asking for your income? Do they want to profit off of teaching you something? Because it's very likely that if that's the case, then they may not be teaching you the real ins and outs of what got them there. I'm not saying that all of the mentors and gurus online are going to be a waste of time. I'm just saying you got to trust your gut when it does come to these people, because it's going to be extremely um, disadvantageous for you to follow someone who's just trying to penny pinch and get some money out of you by saying some nice words and showing you some nice things about life, but not really giving you that value that got them to that point. The best way to actually get information from these people is to see them in real life. So if you are able to meet people in your actual day-to-day life, or maybe you can only meet with them once a week or once a month or just once a year, whatever it is, if you're able to talk to them face to face, that's when you're way more likely to actually extract some valuable information out of them. But keep in mind, these people are just more rare in reality. The people who have what you actually want and are willing to give it away in a fashion that makes sense to you. A lot of times, the keys to life are out there, but accepting them and understanding them is a whole different level. So I encourage you to accept the knowledge from these people, but also trust your gut on whether or not to apply it to your life. And definitely don't spend money on something that is free as long as you're willing to live your life. Now, for individuals who are saying, don't do what I did, this is 99% going to come from people who don't have what you want. And what they are essentially trying to translate to you is somewhat of a warning. Okay, so this may be, an elderly relative that you see over the holidays or something like that. And, or maybe you see them often and they tell you, hey, like, I wish I traveled more, or I wish I followed my passion more. And don't do what I did and stay in and focus on the whatever the long-term career and just work for retirement. Don't do that, because some people will tell you that. Or maybe they'll tell you the opposite. Whatever it is, these people that are saying, don't do what I did, if they don't have what you want, then they're very likely coming from a place of sincerity, because they want the best for you and don't want you to experience the negatives that they experienced. The caution that you have to have with these people is, if they say something along the lines of don't do what I did, and you can notice that they only didn't succeed because they failed at first, then in that case you should be very cautious. For instance, if they're telling you, don't start the business. I started a business and wasted thousands of dollars when I was younger, and I should have just stayed at my 9 to 5 job. Things like that are the ones you should be more cautious of, because they're saying don't do what I did, but then they're also simultaneously encouraging you to do what they did do to get to where they are. But you just gotta kind of look through those and trust your gut. This is the main aspect of this video, is trusting your gut, because the answers are not out there. The answers are inside you, and the more experience and things that you're willing to try in life, then the more in tune and on point that your gut is going to become. So really rely on that. And the more you make mistakes, the more that gut is going to be dialed in and guide you to the right path. Okay. I'm not saying don't listen to people. I'm just saying be very cautious as to what they're saying. And I'm trying to describe the different types of people and the different types of advice in order for you to identify them in your day-to-day life. Okay. So for these people that don't have what you want, but are saying, don't do what I did, they're going to either say, don't do what I did so you can be more like me, or they're going to say, don't do what I did so you can avoid being like me. That second one, the don't do what I did so you can avoid being like me, is very potent and quite possibly extremely valuable information. Okay. For me personally, one of the elders in my family told me himself that he regretted doing what he did as far as his career. He spent 40 years at a job that he did not enjoy, and he missed out on a large portion of what he would rather have been doing. And I'm not going to share you the details or anything like that, but he told me that he very much regretted it, and he believed that he would be far happier in life if he had followed his passion from the start. Information like that is extremely valuable and can be extremely impactful as long as you're willing to accept it into your mind and understand that those types of people very likely are trying to help you out. Okay. So don't take it as like they're telling you what to do and, all F that, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Take it as okay, I hear you and I understand what you experienced. And if I feel that that ends up being true in my life, I'm going to make a quick pivot and listen to your advice. Right. And that's what all this is about, is if somebody tells you advice, and it just feels wrong, like it just kind of sets you off like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. Then honestly guys, that's probably your gut telling you not to listen to it right now, or not at all. Sometimes you get information that you're just not ready for, and then obviously sometimes you get information that is just not accurate. Okay. And your gut will lead you there so long as you're open and willing to even have these conversations and stay open-minded and look for the answers that are going to lead you to feeling more fulfilled in this life. Okay. So the next thing that I do want to mention is that it may have seemed like I was sort of dismissive of certain people, but everyone, no matter what category it is, whether they have what you want and they're saying, do what I did or don't do what I did, or whether they don't have what you want and they're saying, do what I did or don't do what I did. Doesn't matter who it is. Those people, each and every one of them, has something that you can learn from. Okay? There's not a single person on this planet that doesn't know, or I mean, I'm assuming, once they really become sentient and adults and they have experiences, obviously, you probably know most of the things that a 2-year-old knows, right? But even then, you probably got a lot to learn from a 2-year-old. So keep an open mind. What I'm saying is each and every individual person has the capacity to teach, okay? Whether or not they are trying to teach you is a completely different story and not really relevant for you extracting that value into and using it into your life, right? So if you have someone that doesn't have what you want and they're telling you, hey, do what I did, you can look at them and still extract information. Like, for instance, if you have a coworker, right? And this coworker is like, hey man, like you always seem uptight, you work too hard, like you always say no to coming out with us. Like if you relaxed more, you'd probably be happier in life. And that does sound enticing to you, but you feel in your gut that this is not something that you should be doing, and you feel like it might keep you away from what you should be doing. Those are the types of interactions where you can still learn something by still following your gut. So if you look at that person and you say, okay, this is the type of person to try to coerce someone else into becoming more like them. And then all you got to do is analyze who they really are. So that coworker they're probably not that happy either. Okay? And if you have ever gone out with them, then you probably realized how lame they actually were and how miserable they are and how much they have to consume in order just to be happy for, a couple hours. But if you're able to analyze them and see the patterns that they have in life, I mean, and it's very likely that this person probably does not have that much drive, probably does not even look healthy because they're, going out and probably drinking alcohol and probably eating a bunch of crap food, and they don't have much ambition because of that fact. Or, it's simultaneous. If you're not taking care of yourself, it lowers your ambition, and lowering your ambition makes you not want to take care of yourself. But regardless, it's sort of cyclical. But analyze these people and look at them and say, okay, I don't want to go out with this person and I don't want to be anything like this person, but what can I extract from them? Okay, so look at their negative traits and realize that those negative traits got them to where they are. So you now know, okay, this negative thing that they're doing, I don't want to do that. Okay, I don't want to be the guy in the workplace that's always trying to convince people to go out and do things and, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, even though I can tell that they're trying to improve their life and be better than that. Even though it's a Tuesday night and we have work tomorrow, and obviously it'll be much healthier to go home and take care of yourself versus going out. And I don't want to be anything like that, because look at their outcome. They're whatever 6 years older than me, and I'm about to be their boss, whatever it is. Like, you don't need to completely dismiss people, because everybody has something you can learn from. And it's obviously, guys, you can't be rude when you do this. Like, there is no point in confronting people and telling them, I don't think that your advice is worth anything because you don't have what I want. That's just a reflection of your own character. Like, if a part of improving yourself is shutting up. Like, can you be quiet enough to actually let your uh, desire to become a better person actually come into your life? Or are you going to talk about it so much that you spit it out into the environment and then it doesn't actually work for yourself? Because if you're sitting there telling people, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, they're just going to be preying on your downfall. And in some magical way, it tears you down. So there's no point in going up to people and saying anything along the lines of how much you don't trust them or how much you don't want to be like them. These people are on their own journey, okay? And you don't need to be looking down on them, because maybe they're 2 seconds away from flipping their coin in their life and going after it 10 times harder than you ever did. So always be aware that these people, you got something to learn from them, and you don't need to be rude about dismissing their requests or their advice. All you got to do is analyze it and grow from it. And that is how you're going to be able to not necessarily um, uh, avoid getting bad advice, but that's how you're going to be able to absorb all the possible information, and it's all going to get used in your gut, and then you're going to be able to translate that into actionable, wise steps in your day-to-day life. Okay, I hope I was able to make this make sense. Let me check my notes real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything too important. So yeah, let me summarize, guys. I mean, you need to learn to trust your gut, okay? I'm not saying don't get advice from anywhere. Get advice from everywhere, okay? Because everybody has something valuable to that you can learn from. Be cautious as to who you're taking advice from, because most people don't know what they're doing. If somebody has something that you want, you can take advice from them, but also trust your gut with that. Make sure they're not trying to squeeze any money out of you, okay? That being said, that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, go ahead and drop a like. And if you do want to see more content like this, I make a bunch of it, so go ahead and subscribe as well. And if you got anything good or bad to say, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section below. I would much appreciate the advice from you guys. God bless and good luck.